what the event is all about. So officially starting, hello everyone. I would like to first start by thanking you all for joining us today for our special event. We're happy to see such a great turnout of diverse audiences, like ranging from college students who we hope will be our future volunteers, our beloved talents from our disabled community, special educators, parents, and also not to forget our well-wishers. And last but not the least, I take great pleasure on behalf of our DSERVE team in welcoming our two amazing chief guests, Dr. Malvika Iyer and Ms.Virali, who are known for making ripples in our community and serving as an inspiration to us all. Thank you for joining us today. Moving on, and to everyone present today who are unfamiliar with our team, I would like to say that DSERVE started out as a volunteer-driven team, working towards the upliftment of the underprivileged and the disabled community. But we have decided to take it a step further, and with great pleasure, we're extremely happy to announce that we've officially registered ourselves as a formal NGO, and today's event is all about that. We're extremely grateful, and as I mentioned, it is a great honor for us to announce that we're joined by our chief guests, Dr. Malvika Iyer and Ms.Virali, to mark today's event. On that note, before we begin our event, let me introduce to you our two honorable guests, starting with Dr. Malvika Iyer. From surviving a bomb blast to receiving the highest civilian award for women from the Honorable President of India, she has come a long way. Malvika is a disability rights activist and accessible fashion advocate who's on the mission to sensitize everyone about living around people with disabilities. As the co-chair of the World Economic Forum 2017, she's voiced her opinions on putting an end to the discriminations towards the marginalized sector of the society. Her motivational talk at the Youth Forum by UN Women was indeed empowering, as it reflected the sustainable development goals of the gender equality and socio-economic inclusion for all. Let's give it up for this Nari Shakti Purashkar awardee who literally built herself up from the ashes like the mythical bird phoenix. It's truly inspiring looking at the long list of achievements you've made. So please, Malvika, I request you to share your inspiring journey with us.
Thank you, Navina. Thank you for such a warm welcome. I hope my voice is audible. I have turned on the fan. I would like to know, in case you find that disturbing, I'll be happy to turn it off. It's all good?
It's awesome
okay.
For me. I can hear you clear. Yes.
All right. So congratulations to DSERVE. I remember receiving several emails and messages, I think from Shruti from this team. And I got one message in all my social media platform, and I got intrigued and I started reading into it. And when I found out that, this is something so wonderful, that you started out, all of you, when you were in college, and now you're all working, and you're working towards people with disabilities and working for them, working with them. And especially, I think when I got to know about the various ways that you help them nurture their skills. So I think it really touched a chord within me. I am a person with disability. I survived a bomb blast when I was just 13 years old. This was this was actually 20 years ago. So this year will be my 20th anniversary. I do celebrate this day as my birthday. So 26th May, it's coming in 2 months, and it's going to be a bonus birthday for me. I lost both my hands in the accident, and I severely injured both my legs as well, with multiple fractures and nerve paralysis. So after the accident happened, the next 18 months, I was bedridden. I had these iron rods drilled inside my leg. Otherwise, the doctors were planning to amputate my leg as well. So that part of my life was perhaps the most traumatic, both in terms of physical trauma and emotional trauma. But there is something that I think hurt me, or something that broke my heart beyond this accident, and what something that wanted me to be a part of this special day for you today was the attitudinal discrimination. So since my accident, the one thing that I have felt, the attitudinal barrier, the attitudinal discrimination towards people with disabilities, I feel that is more of a barrier than sometimes their own physical limitation. I, as a person with disability, would be happy to walk on the road with just my two hands, not having a care in the world. But if someone would look at me and immediately, call me Pavam Punnam, poor girl, I think that would break my heart, because since the accident, it's been 20 years now, I have come such a long way. But being told that I'm not good enough, or, being told that I will never be able to study again, or what is the purpose of my life anymore. So these were the remarks that I grew up with when I was a young girl. And that really initially it used to hurt me. I remember crying to my mother that, why are people talking like that about me? Or have I really become a liability to my family? Have I become a burden to my family? So that part of my life, I think that is where it started for me, or something made me realize that I needed to do something about that. And having such lived experiences myself, I think being an advocate came very easily to me, because I needed to do that. And since then, my MPhil and PhD research, I recently completed my doctorate. 3 years ago, I got my doctorate in social work. So the topic of my thesis was also the attitude of young people towards people with disabilities. And I studied around 1,000 college students in Chennai. And I also studied 10 people with disabilities, tried to understand in various domains, in school, in education, in workplaces, relationship and marriage, and so many fields. I try to understand how are these attitudes formed, when are they formed, why are they formed, and what can we do to have a more basically for me, this word attitude and the word inclusion, I think they are my two most favorite word. There will never be a talk where I don't say this word. But for me, my journey from that girl, 13-year-old, who survived a bomb blast, I always call myself a survivor. There are many times when in the media it's published that I'm a bomb blast victim, but I immediately correct them. No, because being a victim would mean that, I actually don't know the meaning of victim, but for me, being a survivor means to learn from my experience, to learn from my mistake, to learn from the incident that happened. And I have had so many life lessons since the time the accident happened. The simplest being to be content, to find happiness in every little thing. Because for me, after the accident, after I lost my hands, I had to relearn everything. With these new hands that I have, I needed to learn how to write again from the beginning, how to eat again, how to, do any simple thing. And for me, my legs were completely crushed. I couldn't walk for first 3 years. I just couldn't walk. And even now, it's not easy, but I still I find ways to walk. But of course, being told that I would never walk again, that so all these experiences, I would say, is what has really made me a much happier, a much content person. And I would say this only means for us to have a never give up attitude. And something with my story, I always tell people, if I had given up on my life that day, I had all the reasons to, I don't think I would have been ever able to live such a rich life that I'm leading right now. So these incidents, and since that day, since the accident happened, there are many such milestones that have shaped me to be here today with you. But one thing that my mother always highlighted to me was, it is not the achievements that matter, it is our effort to achievement that counts more than our achievement itself. So she used to tell me, I got a state rank in my 10th. I studied in 3 months, and being bedridden, I appeared as a private candidate. I got a 97% score. But you know what my mom said on the day of the result? She said, the day you decided that you will write the exams, it is not the marks that you scored, but your determination to want to write the exam, the will to go and sit in the exam center to dictate. Everything was very new. I had to learn to dictate maths, science, diagrams. So since that since the age of 15, she has been telling me, it is our effort, it is the effort that we make. So I think there were no goals after that, no such plans or anything. I just started, I think, my life completely. The day my result came, I made a resolve that I am never going back to being that pavam ponna, that bechari ladki, that poor girl anymore. I am going to live this life for me. It doesn't matter the it doesn't matter what I have faced, that would not define me. It only matters how I react to what I have faced, my attitude towards my accident. We constantly tell, right? Life is so uncertain and we cannot change the way life is. Nobody has a magic wand that you just switched and, oh, okay, life has changed completely. I don't think anyone can do that, but we can change our attitude. So instead of sitting and crying that, oh, I have lost this, how about nourishing what I do have? And that's what I decided to do. So you did share in the beginning, I think my proudest achievement in the last few years as a speaker, as a motivational speaker, the journey of speaking also for me is very special, because for I have understood with my accident that grief and suffering, I think it ceases to be painful the moment we find meaning. And for me, my first talk, I think I delivered it 8 years ago. It was a TEDx talk here in Chennai. And the day I delivered my talk, I remember for the first time going out there, sharing my story, and I received a standing ovation for my talk. And having spent the last 10 miserable years trying just with one goal I had, how best do I hide my disability from the world so that no one would notice I'm different? And I spent those 10 years after the accident, how do I hide my disability? Or if I cannot hide, how do I try to be like my classmate, the person next to me, so that, you know, I'm as able-bodied as them? Both the goals, both the plans completely failed. I could never be like them. Of course, I had a very visible disability. How could I ever think in my head that I could compete? So I had to stop doing that. That was lesson number one. How do I hide my disability from the world? Of course, there is no way I could hide it. It would take me time to do things that someone with two hands could do it easily. So these life lessons, these incidents, something which really helped me to understand that I needed to go out there, share my experience, learn from people like me who have had similar experience. I think I've read about Virali's story so many times, and I really connect with her, the challenges that she has faced, how she decided to rise above. And I think she's a model. And I have also, I mean, I've loved her recent pictures modeling, as a person with disability, which is so unique, something we really need, representation. Why should able-bodied people be, on the magazine pictures? And I have really enjoyed seeing her pictures like that. And I have also had my share walking the ramp as a showstopper, wearing accessible clothes. Why should fashion be just for people with, who are able-bodied? Fashion should be for everyone. So I think all of this culminated for me to become an advocate, to be a motivational speaker. And you did see the picture, I think in the first half when you introduced me, Navina. It was the President Award. I think the day I received it was in 2018. That really gave me, of course, it was the greatest honor, but also a lot of responsibility since that day, that if my work is being recognized by the President of India, then I needed to make sure that I'm taking this path and ensuring that I sensitize more people. More people need to know, and that is what the finding of my research suggests. The more contact we have with people with disability, the more we read about them, the more positive representation there is in the media. That's the only way for us to have a more inclusive society. So this is my little story. Since then, as a speaker, as an advocate, I have, I think for me, like my mom said, it's the effort to achievement. For me, since then, still the greatest achievement would be to be able to cook by myself, because my mom is a great cook. My husband is an even better cook. So when they cook, I have always looked at them and then thought that I should also be able to cook one day. So I think 2-3 years ago, I cooked my first dish all by myself in the kitchen, just even chopping and everything. And till that day, so a little message that I want to leave you all with here: being able to celebrate everything that we achieve in life. It doesn't have to be the greatest award or the greatest marks, or a marriage, or I don't know, childbirth or a relationship. It doesn't have to be a career or any great thing. It could be the simple things. And my life has only been beautiful because I was able to enjoy those simple achievements. For me, the day I was able to change the bed sheet by myself, cook for myself, apply kajal in a way that I could try the smoky eye look by myself. So these little achievements have really made me realize the true value of life. And I would want to leave you all with this message, that every day, and for someone, I think like me and Virali, who have almost had a near-death experience, I don't think everyone needs to experience a near-death experience to know the true beauty that is life. And we should be our own best cheerleader first. No negative self-talks, and I think that is the way to be. So thank you to the DSERVE team for inviting me. Thank you for doing what you're doing. That is so wonderful. We need more people like you to work with people with disabilities. And the more support system we have, the more beautiful our community will be. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Malvika. That was really inspiring. You've touched on a variety of topics that I wanted to, just go back and forth and just ask more questions. But we will definitely get a chance to later touch on all those. And also, I couldn't interrupt you, but the fact that you just put beautifully, how you said that I celebrate it as my birthday. So the way that your perception matters on how you look at it and how it brings about the best in you. That was truly inspiring, and I hope you continue to keep doing that to everyone. And so moving on to our next chief guest, and you did say a lot of things about Virali, but moving forward formally to our next chief guest, Ms. Virali Modi, India's first wheelchair using model, who won the Miss Wheelchair India pageant runner-up title in 2017. Her tenacious efforts in her #MyTrain2 campaign for inaccessibility in Indian railways for the people with disabilities were highly lauded and placed on the global level as the 9 railway stations were made wheelchair friendly. Virali is a TEDx speaker who motivates people with her struggles and spreads courage to win against the odds faced in life, and was recognized and awarded by the Delhi Commission for Women and Bharat Prerna for her activism by speaking up for women's rights. She's also had a wonderful opportunity to model with Salman Khan for Being Human, shoot for a print ad for Big Bazaar, and has been the showstopper for Bombay Times Fashion Week and several others. She's a strong believer of body positivity and advocates the importance of mental health. Not once or twice, but nearly 3 times declared dead, but yet you fought your way through and were recognized as the top 100 most influential women by BBC. I kindly request Virali to please share your success story with us. Please, Virali.
Thank you so much, Navina, for introducing me. Thank you so much for having me here. You guys are simply amazing. And when I first got your mail, and just like Dr. Malvika said, on most, I think every social media platform, I saw you guys reaching out to me. And when I first read your message, I was so excited. Finally, someone is here, someone is doing something. We need more people like you, just like Dr. Malvika said. So thank you, Malvika, for mentioning that important point. um so I guess, life has been really crazy, this journey of life. I was 14 years old and I was a dancer. I was into sports. Suddenly, I came to India. I was raised in the US. I came to India, and coming back to the US, got sick, had the symptoms of malaria. Doctors had no idea. Long story short, declared dead 3 times. Doctors have no idea. I was, I went into cardiac arrest and respiratory arrest for 7 minutes after a seizure. Came back on a ventilator. The next day, I went into a coma for 23 days. During that coma, just give me a minute. Sorry, getting a cramp in my legs. Just 1 second, please.
No worries. Take your time.
Again, these are the challenges. No, so
Oh, please, sure, take your time.
yeah, please give me a second.
No worries at all.
So this is what you guys don't see. Like, this is what happens. We get cramps, we get these spasms, and you push through. You go on with it. It's life. But yeah, during the coma, I was declared dead 2 more times. I actually came out of the coma on my birthday, which is 29th of September. I was just staring at the ceiling. My mom and dad were surprised. I was not supposed to survive. I was a goner. I went back into my coma, and on the 5th of October, I came out. And I was paralyzed from the neck down. My hands were not working. I had a trach, so you can see a scar right here. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe on my own, and I was like a newborn baby. So, like Malvika said, I had to learn everything. I couldn't move my hands. And honestly, I was very accepting of that situation. I was like, okay, it's fine. It's a medical mystery, but I'll make it through. I mean, I was raised in a very positive household. Just one second. Yes. And my best friend is here also. So,
We welcome your best friend as well.
hi.
Hi everyone.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So paralyzed, hands could not move, nothing. And I was accepting of that. I was like, I was raised in a very positive household. My mom, my dad, they raised me to be an optimist. And that quickly changed. I went back home and I tried communicating to my friends back in the US, and they shunned me. They told me that I was a burden, that because I was in a vegetative state, my hands couldn't move, I was technically a vegetable. And they didn't want to hang out with me. They didn't want to be friends with me. And that shocked me. Like, that shook my core. I was like, wait a second. Are you my friends because I was able to walk? Or are you my friends because of my personality, because of who I am as a person? I didn't understand that. And that led me to get anxiety, depression, panic attacks. And believe it or not, I tried committing suicide twice. And I remember, again, like Malvika, our mothers being our strongest aspect of our lives, being our backbones, I remember the tough love that she gave me. She sat behind me and she just, I was crying. I was trying to hit my legs with my non existent working hands. So just visualize that for a second. I was trying to hit my legs and crying and telling her that why? Why did this happen? I mean, what did I do to deserve this? And I remember her saying, are you done? Are you done with your drama? And I'm like, wait, what? What is this? She's like, no, tell me. By doing all of this, were you able to change the past? And I said, no. She's like, are you able to change the future? I said, no. She's like, then focus on your present. Focus on what you have now. Focus on yourself. You cannot expect other people to accept you if you don't accept who you are. You need to love yourself. Love every aspect of life. Cherish this moment. And if you can't, then try understanding what you can do to make it better. Make yourself better first. Become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And I remember being 16 years old, mom, yaar, taking it with a grain of salt because I'm 16, I'm a rebel, I know everything in the world, right? No. Initially, eventually, I started reading about the law of attraction. I started reading The Secret and just different various self-help books. And believe it or not, within a month, by practicing the law of attraction and of course physiotherapy, occupational therapy, I got my fingers to work again. I got my hands to work again. And then I remember shifting to India in 2008. And that was my first experience with inaccessibility. And I was blown away because I thought that accessibility is universal, right? It should be universal. It's a right. And unfortunately, I had to be molested 3 times by the railway porters just because trains are not accessible. And that was a shame. And I never said anything, never told my mom also, because honestly, in our country, we had this mentality of black and white. There was no gray area around disability. It was either, oh, poor thing, or oh my God, who can touch you? You are on a pedestal. You're a Divyang. Like that, I just didn't understand that. And I didn't want to be put into those hemispheres. I didn't want that. And I stayed quiet. And I always had this dream of wanting to be a model, of wanting to go into Bollywood. And you can definitely blame Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol for Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, because that is what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. And I got my first chance, and that was Miss Wheelchair India in 2014. I won second place. I did go for auditions, but then I was always let down because of my disability. But I didn't give up. I put it on the back burner and I said, you know what? I'm going to take this time and I'm going to improve my skills. I'm going to improve my acting, my modeling, grooming myself, and I'm going to go for it then. And then in 2016, the Disability Rights Bill was passed. And then 2017, Mr. Suresh Prabhuji launched the Tejas Express, which had facilities for those with hearing impairments and vision impairment, but none for people with locomotor disabilities. Yet it was called a disabled friendly train. And that kind of put a very bitter taste in my mouth, because I was like, disability is an umbrella term. It has so many different disabilities underneath it. We need to mention them, and you need to cater to them in order to become disabled friendly. You can't just pick and choose. So I wrote an open letter. I started a petition called hashtag My Train Too, a campaign with the help of a railway official from Kerala. We made 9 stations totally wheelchair accessible without any renovations, all through CSR initiatives and NGOs and donations. And we sensitized the railway staff through local NGOs. And that was probably one of the most endearing and just heartwarming moments of my life, because I realized I had so many people reaching out to me and telling me that they had gone through the same thing, that being disabled, they felt, was a curse. And I thought, no, it's not a curse. And we need to change this mentality. And accessibility is the first step. The second step is by providing and spreading awareness about disability. We need to stop viewing disability as a negative thing, because I truly believe that everyone has a disability. I mean, if you think about it, the definition is an inability to do something. So, I mean, I'm not Albert Einstein. I cannot do math in my head. So, I like to say that that is my disability. I believe that my wheelchair is just a means of getting around. That's it. I don't believe that I should be called differently abled, because honestly, what am I doing different than you? I mean, think about it. In India, people would rather take the lift than the stairs. And I do the same thing. So, how am I different from you? And that's why I think modeling and TEDx and being a motivational speaker, it all kind of fell in place, because again, we need representation, and positive representation, not the, oh bichari, we should be sympathetic. We don't need that. We need people with strong voices. We need people coming out and talking about their challenges, talking about what they've done and how things could be changed and how we can improve as a community, as a society. And I'm just grateful that I've had such opportunities to do that. I mean, I never once imagined that I would get the opportunity to work with Salman Khan. And I did that. And I was like, wow, okay, this happened. This is amazing. This is great. I can't wait. And I want to see what more I can do. And that is when the dream of modeling actually, it was like, if I can do this, I can do anything. I can do anything in this world. And the sky is the limit for me. And I want to thank my mom, because that day If she hadn't given me that tough love of accept yourself and love yourself, I honestly do not think that I would be here. I definitely would not. And my mom has always said, nothing is impossible, because even in impossible, the spelling is I am possible. So, with that mindset, I lead my life. And I try to tell people all around me that is how it should be. You never give up. Because one day, if it's raining, the next day it's shining. And the next day, if it's shining, the other day it's going to be raining. It's just a phase of life. And what matters is what you take out of it, the lessons that you learn. And that's how you grow and evolve. And that's how life should be led. Life is beautiful. It's just what you make out of it. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Virali. That was so. I did notice that there were a lot of the base foundation similarities where Malvika and Iyer and you said that it's all about how we proceed with it and the fact that the way we look at it. And so the confidence that you both emanate, it's just truly inspiring. And Virali, I hope you keep continuing to lead others by your example and be a true inspiration to us all. I'm sure the audience and myself have a lot more questions to ask from you guys and talk a lot more with you guys. So as to the audiences, I'm directing this to you guys. So please feel free to drop in all your questions in the chat. We will address them with to our guests in our final fireside segment. So without any further delay, let's move on to the launch of the NGO and understand the story behind our mission. So in the age of virtual meet, we've somewhat tried to capture the essence of a physical meet. So please, I kindly request Ms. Virali to take control of the mouse and pull the rope on the screen to reveal our website for the first time.
One second.
Yeah, sure, take it. And we understood this was going to have some technical difficulties, but yeah, we wanted to give the feel of just pulling that rope into open, like reveal our website. So yeah.
Where is the mouse?
There we go. Thank you, Virali. The website is now live, and we have also shared the link on of the website to the chat box. So feel free to check it out and share your thoughts on it. And moving on to our next reveal. To understand who we are and how we've evolved over the years, I now request our chief guest, Dr. Malvika Iyer, to kindly request to take over the mouse and pull the screen to release our journey video along with the logo reveal.
Oh, pull me. Okay, just give me 1 second.
There we go. Thank you. And so let's give it up for the video.
Oops. Okay, I think I have made it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then thank you. So just give us 1 second.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, perfect. So that was our behind the scenes technical person. So.
Yeah, there is a short glitch. I will share it.
Technical difficulties happens from time to time, so it's okay, I believe. Yeah, let's give it up for the video, guys. Thank you. That was perfect. So, on a personal note, as an initial member, it is emotional for me to watch that video, and would actually like to give regards and appreciation to all the people who made this occasion a reality. I think I could say on behalf of all the others that we truly enjoyed the video. So thank you guys, and I hope our chief guests were able to enjoy the video as well.
Absolutely beautiful video, very touching, and I love the enable arts. About honing the skills. I think art is a very beautiful medium for everyone. It's very therapeutic. It has been for me as well, and I love the. I think your tagline. We serve those who deserve the deed. So metaphorical, very poetic, very beautiful.
Thank you, thank you. And Virali, would you like to share like what you thought about the video?
I absolutely loved it. And again, Malvika, you're just stealing everything that I want to say. Not at all.
You speak first, I'll speak next.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, but I mirror everything that Malvika said. It's absolutely beautiful, and I truly appreciate your efforts. Great on you guys, and good luck and all the best. Sincerely, all the best. And thank you so much.
Thank you. So as we have here Sanchana, I would like to call upon one of our managing trustees, Sanchana, to talk a few words about DSERVE.
Yeah, thank you, Navina, and thank you both for your wonderful words about us. It is indeed a very emotional moment for me, and I think all of us at DSERVE. Just feels like yesterday when one of our trustees, Arjun, proposed the idea of DSERVE when we were all in college, and we decided to visit Vasantham School in Chennai to celebrate the new year of 2014. And it slowly became a habit that we did it every year because we really enjoyed it, spending time with the kids there. And at this moment, I would also like to give a big shout out to Vasantham Special School for being like very welcoming and hosting us every year. But other than this, we've also visited other orphanages in around Chennai to celebrate other events like Pongal and organize other activities for the students of the orphanage. But our mission back then was to spread smiles and have fun ourselves by doing so. But I think slowly, with the huge support that we received from our patrons, well-wishers, and volunteers, we thought we could do more. And here we are with a strong team of dedicated people working towards the mission of DSERVE. Apart from the faces that you see on the screen, there have also been many more hands and that have made this dream possible. Our current mission, as we keep saying throughout the event, is to empower and enable the disabled and underprivileged communities. To work on this mission, as Malvika also slightly touched upon, we have launched 2 dedicated initiatives. The first one is called Enable Arts. Through this initiative, we would like to identify untapped talents of people with disability, and we would like to help promote them and their talents through various platforms and strive to help them becoming financially independent. Earlier, this initiative was called Crafty Hands, and we've renamed it now to match our purpose. So you can check the artwork of that were created by these amazing talents in our website as well as our Instagram page, and you can also purchase them. We've also right now partnered with another organization called Atypical Advantage to move forward in our mission for Enable Arts. Our second initiative of DSERVE is called Pathshala, and through Pathshala, we would like to help students from underprivileged communities to improve their soft skills and communication. We would like to spread awareness of various opportunities that are also available to help them shape their careers. In the past, to do this, we've collaborated with a school called SEED, situated in Sri Perambuttur, Chennai. So what our volunteers did was they had regular visits and provided after-school support and conducted multiple events to improve their communication and soft skills. Unfortunately, we could not continue this due to the ongoing pandemic, but I think it was quite an exhilarating experience for all our volunteers, and we would like to kickstart it again in near future. As you all know, we are just starting. We're a budding NGO. We would like your continuous immense support and love from all of you. And if you know any person with disability who needs help, not just to promote their talent, or it could be help with anything to get to know more information, please do put us in touch with them. We would be happy to get involved in knowledge sharing as well. For both Pathshala and Enable Arts, we have both long-term and short-term volunteering opportunities, especially if you're a student who just wants to join for a short term, like during your summer break or winter break. We also have some short-term volunteering opportunities where you can get exposure and get recognized for your work. So it's a win-win situation. It does not really matter where you're from, which part of the globe that you live in. I think the pandemic has made us realize that as well. So these are like some good sides of pandemic. We know that it's easy to collaborate with each other, work on something from any part of the world. So there are both online and remote volunteering opportunities. It does not matter if you're from Chennai or from anywhere else. So, but if you really want to help, and if you think you don't have enough time for volunteering, I think even a simple gesture such as sharing us about us on social media, spreading the word amongst your friends or colleagues will also be a great help to us. Without taking much more of your time, I would just like to thank all of you again, especially our chief guest, for making time to be here for us. And all of you, all the others being here at the first step of our NGO journey means a lot to us, and we hope to have your continuous support. Keep following us on our social media to stay updated, and please do not hesitate. If you have some feedback or if you have any questions, you can always contact us via email. You can find it on our website. You can also DM us in any of our social media channel, and we would be really happy to hear things from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjana. So I'm excited to see DSERVE entering this new chapter, and we hope it creates a huge impact on many more people moving forward, right? And so moving on to our last, but yet like the most exciting segment, the fireside with our chief guests. So we do have few questions. As I mentioned, we do have it from our side as well. So we've handpicked some of our questions, and so I do have the same questions for both of you. So we will just address one question. You both can get to answer, and then we'll move on to the next question. So starting with Malvika. So tell us this one thing, or like the one mantra that you constantly keep reminding yourself, like every day in the morning, to keep going forward. What is that one thing that you would say?
I think for me, what keeps me going is knowing that just adding a simple word, yet to our challenges, to our difficulties, instead of saying, for me, I think for the first 3 years of my accident, I couldn't walk, and the doctors were going to amputate my legs as well. For me, I think it started there. And I think Virali shared something very similar about how she read those, positive affirmations, and that, power of giving out the positive vibes, that energy. Very similar to that is what I feel when we add a simple, instead of putting a full stop to our challenge, oh, I cannot do this, or oh, I'm a failure, oh, this is never going to happen. Instead of just ending those statements there, how about we just add a word yet to it? So instead of saying I cannot walk, or I cannot write well, or I cannot anything, it could be any challenge, present, past, something that has bothered you, or something that you want to work upon. It could be anything that has been bothering you. But the moment I add the word yet to it, I know that I can add a list of, there's endless possibilities. So recently it was very difficult for me to write a research paper. Just adding a simple yet, I cannot write the paper yet, with extensive reading, with collaborating with colleagues in similar field. And with that, I was able to add so many solutions to my problem, that ultimately I published my research paper. So I feel there is really, like you already shared, impossible has the word I am possible, Virali, your mother shared. I don't think till we are alive, there is nothing that we can't do. If we put our mind to it, we can do anything we want. And I think that's the mantra I like to believe in, that there is really nothing that we can't do. It's just our mind, and we need to tell that to ourselves.
That's really great. So Virali, let's hear it from you.
For me, it's gratitude. So I remember a time where I could not breathe fresh air. I needed a ventilator. So every morning when I wake up, instead of looking at the challenges that I face on a daily basis, I like to thank the universe for allowing me to wake up, to take in a breath of fresh air, to see the sunlight, to see the beautiful colors, to see the greenery. And I think that gratitude of being able to just live one more day is important to me. And that has been my mantra of going forward and never looking back. Because whenever you look back, it's a mess. It's a mess. So instead of looking back, focus on your present, and the choices that you make in your present will affect your future. So I believe in staying here, staying now, and being in the now, and being grateful that I have this moment to live. So gratitude, that's definitely mine.
Perfect. So I think like what I take away from is like the two put together, the fact that Dr. Malvika, she said about positive affirmations, like every day, like there are people and the world is like telling us that you cannot do in, like there's already enough negatives and like people telling us not to do, but you don't say that to yourself. You tell yourself the positive affirmations, and combining that with being like grateful for the tiniest little things, like the two of them put together, I think that's an ultimatum. I think the audiences can take that, like the two things put together, the mantra, and to just lead our life. I think that's that was really beautiful. So moving on to our next question, which I think is very important to address, is because I heard from both of you talking about how important the role that your parents played in your life in times of having that constant support. So how impactful do you think a role of a parent or a family, like even in general a loved one, is when it comes to supporting a person with a disability? Like, is there any pointers that you would like to give out to like parents watching on how they can support? So we'll start with Virali.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Of course, it's really important to have someone supporting you, guiding you, being a mentor, definitely. And I think the biggest thing which I have noticed here in India, especially, is when it comes to disability, people have this mindset, again, like Malvika also mentioned, I mentioned, that the whole bichara, bichari, poor thing, sympathetic mindset. First of all, like I said, we need to eradicate that. We need to eradicate that. That is not at all necessary. Even if you say that to an able-bodied person, how are they going to feel? You cannot do that. You need to be supportive of what your child wants to do. Push them in the right direction. And again, there's always this point of comparison, comparing a child to a different child. And I think that practice needs to go. It's so outdated. Please do not do that. And honestly, just guide them, support them, introduce them to the right people, talk about positivity, tell them what they can do, focus on their abilities rather than what they cannot do. I think that is really important. So of course, a positive role model, a positive parenting style, it really will, you'll achieve wonders with that, seriously.
Thank you, Virali. So Dr. Malvika, yes.
I think she very rightly pointed out about that comparing, even with, I have a sister, she's an older sister, and it would have probably broken my heart if my mother, even for a day, she would have thought that, comparing the two of us, but she never did. My parents, my mother and father, they have never compared us. She had different skills and talents. I had different skills and talents, and we were nurtured for what we were good at. And that is, I think, very important. And another thing, I think, as a parent, to let the child, I think failure, success, we live in such a competitive world, honestly. It's something funny, but I am a person with disability. I see Virali here, we are both talented in our unique ways, and there are many people like us who are doing so great in life. I think competition, or this, who is, people skilled at their profession, I think that is not going anywhere for us to be burdened by that. I think to be burdened by the fact that, since it's a competing world, and even if our parents do that, even if they push us that, you have to be the best. Now if I were to prove myself that, okay, I'm a person with disability, maybe now I'm a part of minority group, there are people very talented like Virali as well, so do I now compete in my field also? I think it would be unfair to bring competition in. I think even for parents to push us into that, it's the world already is so competitive. What my mom, I think, she taught me was success and failure. I think I got, like I said, I had a 97% in my 10th, but I didn't score that much in my first year college. I think I scored very, very less. My hands, I used to practice maths with that, but my hands had gone for repair, and they had gone all the way to Germany, and they didn't come back for 2 months. I couldn't write, and there was nobody at that time to help me practice with maths. So I did not do, I think I just passed with a few marks. So at that time, she did not make it a big deal that, oh, you have failed your exams. The same way she did not make it a big deal when I scored those high marks. So having that balance, I think children, that's what they need, not making a big deal about our achievements, but at the same time not making it a big deal when we fail, because failure is a part of life, and making it mainstream, making it normal. We have to normalize failure. Many parents, force their children that you have to get first rank, you have to excel at dancing, and you have to be the best in everything. I think if I had been told that, I don't think I would have done any of these things. I was a very average student before accident. I think, like Virali, I was also a dancer before my accident. I would have probably become a dancer if this accident hadn't happened. I learned Kathak for 7 years. I was good at everything except academics. But look, I completed my doctorate 3 years ago. Never did I imagine I would do that. But that is because I was never told that you have to excel or you have to be your best or you have to keep, I think to let the child be the way, and especially if the person has any kind of disability, I needed that kind of a freedom to be good at whatever I wanted to and not have that pressure. I think that is something I was grateful. I was blessed with parents like that, and that is what I wish for every person, to have parents like that.
Thank you, thank you. So I think to not, it is very important to not have that. So it's hard enough to already have that standards being like pressurized on us, and the fact that there is a perfect cutout where we have to fit in through that, it's just hard to put that on a child. And it's important, as you mentioned, that to comparing it's not doing any good. So like the fact that you have to be better than someone, it's that is something to stop that habit, I think would do wonders in a person's life. So I think that's a good takeaway message here. So moving on to another question, I think we had from one of our guests here. Sorry, one of our audiences here. Sorry. Could you tell us about the invisible disability, like the mental trauma that you've been through, and how did you have to deal with it? So is that a question that you guys are comfortable answering? We can start with Dr. Malvika.
I think for me, PTSD came with the accident, but it didn't come initially. So it took when the accident happened, I was 13. I think in my late 20s is when I first experienced anxiety. I was diagnosed with another disease. This was GERD, and I was diagnosed with that kind of affected my sleep. And I think sleep is something I've understood with my recent diagnosis, that sleep is so important. And I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, day or night, I was just awake because I had GERD, and I couldn't. Nobody could help me. No doctor, no medicine, nothing worked on me. And that is when my PTSD from the accident that was triggered, and I had my first episode of anxiety, panic attack. I think it was very scary to experience all of that, and I'm still coping with it. I don't think I'm afraid of the fear. People often ask me, because I have survived a grenade explosions, will the TV will explode? Sometimes people have wondered, are you afraid that your phone will explode or a TV will explode? Because it's that fear. But thankfully, I don't have that fear. But to know that I have a permanent disability because of something that happened, and in a fraction of a second my life changed, I do think, the mental health effects that came with the accident. Sometimes when there is something that goes wrong, I do wonder, how will this permanently affect my life? Because I think that word permanent has become very much a part of my life. So these are the challenges that I face with my mental health, predominantly anxiety. Only when it's any kind of trigger I'm exposed to. But how do I cope up with it? I think first and foremost for me, I very much believe the support system. And being born to an Indian family, we are very famous. I think our support system, we as communities, we support, and the kindness that we Indians have, and we show that outside as well. So I have been blessed with that support system in my family, with my friends, and I like to nurture that. I think when you need help, you ask for it. I think I've been told that you should never be scared to ask for help, because for me, sometimes I may need physical help, but with time I have learned to ask for emotional help, therapy. I think I've also gone through therapy in the last few years. That has also helped me greatly. We need to ask for help. We should not feel ashamed to ask for help, and that you never know when, you will be able to offer the same help to anyone. So that is something that I want to share when it comes to mental health. As much, I think it's very simple that my doctor explained. For me, I needed to take those injections, those many surgeries, and so much of carpentry work, and that went through fixing my legs and my hands. The same way our brain, I think, with my accident, I was told that, it's just science. The same way your nerves were damaged in your legs, that's the same way the nerves are damaged in our brain, when we see a real life trauma, or when we go through a traumatic event. So why is it that it's a taboo to take a medication for mental health, but it is not a taboo to take the same medication? I promote that. Till now, I haven't really, therapy has helped me. I haven't really taken any medication for mental health, but it is very important to know that how much we value our physical health. If we have a headache, we take a medication. We need to give the same importance to our mental health and normalize it. Now, when I tell a little trigger, when it's a sleep disturbance, it triggers my anxiety, and I tell very frankly and honestly in my house, I think I am having anxiety, or I'm having a panic attack episode, and I expect people around me to understand that and empathize with me, and not say, oh, don't worry, this is fine. I would hate if someone said, why are you worrying, it is so simple. And being told that you're a survivor of a bomb blast and you can face anything in life, I don't think so. My husband, when we were in a relationship, and when we were in a long distance, when he was my boyfriend, that distance would hurt me. Just because I have survived a bomb blast doesn't mean I would be
Go
the
through. Right.
the queen of surviving any challenge. No, it doesn't work like that. I used to cry for long hours when I was separated from my husband, so that doesn't give me a tag that okay, she is fit to survive anything. So let's normalize mental health, and as much as we give importance to our physical health, we need to give importance to our mental health.
Yeah, that's actually, thank you so much, because I think it was a very important subject that you addressed. The mental health stigma, it surely exists especially at least in our communities. Like in India, the fact that, as you mentioned, it's equally important to treat a person's mental health as much as importance it is to treat a person's physical health. So, Ms. Virali, what are your opinions on this? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Honestly, besides that depression that I initially faced, I recently got depression in 2019 because my mother passed away. My mother had cancer, and it's totally okay. Thank you so much. She passed away, and I was there to witness the last 3 days of her life. So the whole story, it's she was diagnosed in 2018, and we went back to the States. I stayed with her for a month, and that is when I took the very difficult decision of wanting to shift back to India to learn how to live alone, to learn how to live independently without the help of a caretaker, on my own, just because when she would survive, this was my mindset, when she would survive, the tables would turn. I would have to take care of her. She could not be my caretaker anymore because of the various amounts of medication, chemo, and radiation. And if, God forbid, she did not survive, then I would still need to learn how to live alone and independently. And I remember in 2019, I remember her calling me and she said, I need to see you. You need to come back. And I went back and I was there with her for 3 last days. And she passed away on the 30th of June at 7:49 in the morning in her sleep. And I didn't cry. I did not cry because I realized that I'm an only child. So I realized that I had to be strong for my father. And for 3 weeks, I stayed strong, did not cry, suppressed all my emotions. And suddenly I was admitted in the hospital because all of my emotional grief was manifesting as physical pain. And I was on antidepressants. I was visiting, I was sedated, I met a lot of doctors, and eventually I came back to India with her ashes. And I was in a relationship as well at that point of time. But because of my mom's passing and the huge amount of grief and burden that I felt, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, we broke up because he could not deal with it. And that's when I realized that this was my journey, that I needed to work on myself. I needed to go to a therapist. And spasms again. This is life. This is life. I had to work on myself. I had to work on my journey. And I went to a counselor. I stopped medications. I started getting into spirituality more, started learning about the law of attraction, karma, and just how to live life in a more spiritual way. And that has honestly helped me. And I never, like, I advocated, even on my Instagram, on my stories. When I'm having a bad mental health day, I will be talking about it. I will literally be talking about my grief, about various moments of my life which have impacted me, people that have impacted me, and just how I'm sad. Yeah, I'm crying. Yeah, I'm upset. It's okay. It's a day, it's a phase of life. You deal with it. But when you realize that, okay, it's not one day, it's not 2 days, it's not 3 days, it's not 4 days, but oh, this has been going on for a long, long time, you reach out, you get help, you go to a counselor, you go to a therapist. And honestly, shame on those people who shame you for having mental health issues, because everyone has mental health issues, you just don't want to acknowledge it, and that is your problem. That's not my problem. And I really believe that people, we really need to be more vocal, and we need to advocate mental health issues. They are real, they are important, and they need to be worked on. They really do. And I mean, right now it's so sad, but my father is still dealing with the grief. He, again, being a male, he feels that he is fine. He doesn't have depression, he doesn't have grief. Everything is okay. And he doesn't want to go for therapy. And well, I mean, I guess that's what he chose. So I'm trying, but if you don't want my help, then I can't help you. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Virali. Like, I don't understand from where we got this non-existent thing about mental health. The depression, it just doesn't exist. Like, if you're going through, like, if you're under the weather and if you feel sad, wanting to address that, it's just non-existent when it comes to mental health. But I hope that notion and the stigma about it evaporates and it just gets better soon. Like, with more people talking about it, I think definitely it's bound to get better. So I do have another question. So what are some mistakes that people commit when empathizing for people with disability? So is there a don'ts that you want to share? Like, please don't do this kind of thing.
I do.
Yes, please. Yes,
Yeah.
Ms. Virali.
For me, it's like, please don't push my wheelchair without asking for my consent. Please don't do that. I mean, if you see me struggling, like, for instance, I like to push myself up ramps, obviously not steep ramps, because that, no. But if I'm pushing myself and if I don't ask for your help, don't suddenly come behind me and push my wheelchair. That is an extension of my body. That is like touching me. Don't do that, please don't. Secondly, when you're saying things like, oh, but you're too pretty to be in a wheelchair, what are you trying to say? What are you just trying to say? I don't understand that. Thirdly, I would say, oh, Vichara, Vichari, oh, you know what? I went to this treatment center. I think you should go there. I took my sister there. Why are you putting us all into one category? Why are you doing that? Every disability is different. It is a spectrum. You cannot just say, acha, like, this person is on a wheelchair, my cousin was on a wheelchair, you're also on a wheelchair. Are you sure it's not a bone problem? Are you sure it's not a muscle problem? Oh, you must have
Everyone
done
become a
something
doctor
bad
at
in
that
your
point.
past life. You must have done something bad in your past lives. You go to this guru. Please stop trying. Please stop thinking that you're helping me by saying all of these things. You're really not. Please do not do that. Please don't.
Thank you, Virali. That was really. So I think I can relate with my apologies for my Hindi skills, but like Bechari, as you mentioned, is like Pavam, right? As Dr. Malvika, she's mentioned in the, I don't want to be that Pavam girl. So please just stop associating me with that word. So is there something that you would like to share, Malvika?
Very similar incidents. Like for her it was wheelchair. For me, when people see me, the instant reaction they want to say is you should get a hand transplant, then you will become normal like you were before. It's just impossible. But hand organ transplant, I mean the whole procedure and being on immunosuppressants for the rest of your life, and the whole ordeal. I have spent 20 years of my life, more of my life now, without my hands, that honestly there is nothing you can tell me that can you do this and I will say no. I have trained myself so well in the last 20 years and I'm still learning, that I think I'm very independent. I may need help maybe to tie my ponytail. Other than that, I think I can do everything by myself. So why is it that I need to be fixed? Why is it that only if I have those two hands then I will be perfect? I get very, it used to hurt me, then it used to make me angry. Now I think I don't have any reaction anymore. I'm sure, Virali, you have heard enough now to not have any reaction anymore, but it used to make me very angry that just if I have two hands, will I be normal again? What does that mean? Another thing for me is staring. We stare, as Indians, we stare a lot. I think that is something we do, but it is not just, I think I first thought it was only because I'm a person with disabilities so they stare, but they stare at anyone. If you're too fair, you're too dark, you're too, like chubby, or if you're too thin, or if you're wearing a very different color dress. So I think they stare, Indians stare. That is one thing that we need to, maybe very few people may have it out of concern, but for those who are not having it, I think even with concern, let's not stare. Let's stop staring, because it makes people very uncomfortable. And I wore artificial hands for 11 to 12, for almost 12, 13 years, for the reason that people used to stare at me. So I could stop those stares. So I used to wear my artificial hands. And I stopped wearing them finally, because I thought that I'm doing it for somebody else. I'm not doing it for me. Wearing those hands, I could not do anything independently. I was only wearing it so people would stop staring at me. So I stopped doing that once I got more acceptance and more confidence in life. And I think spitting, I think that is something when I received my president award, it was a huge award. I was carrying it from Delhi to back to Chennai with my mom. We were in the airport and I was in a wheelchair. In the airports I usually take a wheelchair because it's a very long walk and I can't walk as much. So I was carrying that award in my hand. I think it was the greatest day. I mean, I got a president award. Can there be a bigger award than that? I was on high and sitting on a wheelchair with my award, and someone comes to me and asks, were you born like this or did something happen to you? I mean, there is an award in my hand. Do you not want to know what award it is? Or, I was in a great dress. I had flowers all around me. But the only person that person wanted to know was I born like that or something happened to me? I was really shocked that day that it doesn't matter. Even I become the president of India, people would still think I'm a bechari ladki because I lost my hands. And I think we need to stop that. I don't think I'm a bechari ladki, I'm a pavam punna, because honestly, my life, it's so good. I think it is so good, so rich with experiences that I really, the last thing I need or Virali needs is pity. We are already, I think it doesn't mean that we need to have achieved. Even if we were just people who are differently able, doing our work in the house, not having modeled, not having done advocacy work, even if we were just people with disabilities, we still deserve a very equal and respectful life. I think all these that we have done is perhaps just a bonus. It's something we wanted to do, maybe we were good at and we did it. But that doesn't mean just because we people with disabilities, they should be put in a threshold that pitying them. I think, yeah, these are the things, something very similar we both shared here.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing it, because this shows like the mentality of people. Like when you have that award in your hand and the first thing that person thought of asking. So that is what I think we need to begin changing. And I think it would start with like bringing more awareness. So the fact that, you and the fact that you mentioned that you were wearing the hands not as a feature of a functionality, it didn't help you do anything, but you were just wearing so people would stop sharing. So I'm happy that you got over the face and the fact that you're comfortable the way you both are, and so I'm very happy with that. And I think we do have like a follow up to that question that I asked you. So it was asked by a person who says, so I've seen a disabled person on social media urging people not to call them differently abled. I think one of you guys touched on that. Virali touched on it, right? So I want to understand the thoughts on this and what is the definition of this term. Is it right to call a disabled person differently able? So could you elaborate on why it can come off offensive? Yeah, Virali, yes, please.
Okay, cool. So for me, I have always viewed disability as being something that's normal. And I've always felt that everyone in this world is temporarily abled. Everyone is temporarily abled. So when it comes to differently abled, you are just treating me differently. But in my country, there aren't ramps. I can't go out of my house without facing 3 or 4 barriers. So technically, I am disabled. I am not differently abled. You are disabling me. So I would rather just acknowledge the elephant in the room. Let's move on. We have more pressing issues to talk about. And let's advocate and let's talk about them rather than just focusing on terminology. We try to focus on being more politically correct than rather focusing on the issues at hand. And honestly, when people correct me and when I say that I'm disabled, that's the term that I prefer. I am disabled. When I say disabled, people say, no, you're differently abled. I'm like, wait a second. Are you bothered by the terminology or do you think it's hurting me? So please let's clarify that. And it's usually the other way around. It's usually them feeling that the word disability or disabled is offensive when it really isn't. So for me, it's always been disabled. And that is why consent regarding terminology is also very important regarding labels. For me, it's disabled. For Malvika, it could be something else. And that's totally okay. It's on perspective, but it's also about consent. So that's those are my 2 cents.
Thank you. So I do understand, like, it was really good that you mentioned you are disabled in a way where the surrounding is not the fact that the railways, it was disabled because there was not a ramp. Like if there was a ramp, you would still be able to like go on with your work, and you're okay with. So thank you for touching that. I think it would have answered many people's, because I remember this fact differently able coming up, and people were urging people to use it, but not probing into the actual meaning of why we're using it. So Dr. Malvika, is there anything that you would like to share?
I think environmental barriers, we really, even I have felt that I have limited mobility in my legs. And since I don't have hands, for me, using public transportation all by myself will definitely be a challenge. And the first time the metro was introduced in India and I could buy a card. So it was very simple. I just had to show the card and I could, walk in and out by myself. But I could not do that, say, in a bus, because then I'll have to look for change, money, not being able to sit. And I think that whole ordeal would have been very difficult for me to travel, in any other means of public transportation. So similarly, if the environment, so this is what the social model of disability advocates for. If it is not the disability many times does not lie with the person, many times it is the environment or the attitude around us. That's what we need to work on. And I personally feel that if the workplace, if the building is accessible, and for me, for example, in my house where I live with my husband, my kitchen is very accessible. I have, like, he likes to collect a lot of spices, but they are all on a top shelf. But I want to cook as well, so I have a bottom shelf where I store all my spices. I have made it accessible that I want to be able to use my knives or my utensils. Everything I have arranged in a way that I can just go into the kitchen if somebody comes, or if I am hungry, he is hungry, I can just make something quickly and we can eat. I may not be able to do that in every kitchen. So does it mean that I am disabled, I can't cook, or does it mean the environment is not? So I think what she rightly pointed out, if we make the environment accessible, I think we can be very independent, and that is all we need. The terminologies, or I use the word disabled. Of course, I don't have hands. It's so obvious. You cannot expect me to put sui mein dhaga, like it's like needle thread. I cannot do it. It is very obvious. That doesn't take away the fact that there are things that I can do. So when I use that I'm disabled or I'm a person with disability, I like to call myself that. I've been told that, oh no, don't call yourself disabled. You are truly able, or you are specially abled. I don't think I feel bad when I call myself a person. It's just something. I am a woman. I don't feel bad that I'm a woman. Same way, I'm a person with disability. And I like all words, but like she very rightly pointed out, we need to invest our time, because what challenges she has, I think it's perhaps even greater. For me, I can still take a few steps, but to not have a ramp, and I can't imagine how you would, then go to a place if there are no ramps. So I think it is very difficult for us to make our environment, to make our workplace, to make our homes accessible. And then maybe we can, talk about what word to use, and not trying to fix people with disabilities. Yeah.
So I'm very glad that we touched on this topic, because I think that answers a lot of questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like the word that you used, environmental barriers. So it's like the way the world is, arranged for the use of the majority of the person. It doesn't. The fact that you're not able to do it, it's directed towards the way it has been set and not yourself. And so it's really beautiful the way you've explained, and I think it answers like a lot of questions to majority of the audiences here. So thank you. I think we could have like one more question. It's just I think it comes from one of our volunteers. So for like with many volunteer-driven organizations coming up, it's like a sneaky way of asking feedback. So so apologies, guys. So what would be like a word of advice to all these budding organizations like DSERVE? What are the aspects that you think we could be focusing more on? So we could start with Malvika.
I think for you, to focus on ability, and to to have a kind of platform where people with disabilities can have that kind of comfort. That itself is a great start that you have come with. My feedback, I definitely think you really did a good job. I think both Virali and I shared that you reached out to us in many platforms. So that was really, really, I think, a very good way of, getting your work recognized. And that is something I will be very happy even in future to share the great work that you're doing. I think that is something I think it's a great way that you have started. Feedback, personally, as a person with disability, as an advocate for people with disabilities, I would want to say that the more people you reach out, the more platforms you talk about, I think the one and only key message that we need to share here is how people with disability, like how Virali shared, that for her the word disability is so normal. It's not something you're afraid of. So that is what you need to touch upon. Even I didn't think of it this way. Today I learned something from her. I never thought of that, but I think, yeah, disability is a normal word. I think I'm a normal person, but I never thought the word disability was normal as well. So let's normalize that as much as we can. And that is something that you can do with your platform, sharing arts of people with disabilities, and, reaching the right kind of people. I think it's really great what you have started with. And my the simple message that I want to share here is, the more we normalize, the more we sensitize, the more contact we have, and the more representation we have, I think eventually one day, I don't know when that day is going to be, but one day it will be very, like, when I walk on the road, no one is going to stare and point that, look, something is different. I can just freely walk and be unburdened by the environmental and the societal barriers.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So we hope for that as well. And so, Ms. Virali, do you have any feedback?
Yes, I do. I am so glad to hear that you guys have actually tied up with Atypical Advantage. I think that is an amazing platform. I know the founder himself. So I am so, so glad that you guys are able to put the artwork out there. And for Pathshala as well, I think it is amazing what you guys are doing. And I mean, just like Malvika said, I mirror everything that she said. And yeah, I'm just there to support you. anything in the future, whenever, I'm there to support, because it's really important that word about such foundations, such organizations, it needs to be out. It needs to be out in the public. People need to know about it. Awareness needs to be there. And if there is anything that I could do to help out, I am totally on board and totally willing to do that. And it's really, really important. So thank you so much. And just keep at it. All the best to you guys. And just keep going, and it's onwards and upwards from here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Those words mean a lot to us. So I think we've come to the end of the event. So I cannot thank you guys enough for sharing all your insights today. I'm sure there was a lot of things that the audience had to learn. And personally, on a personal note, as Dr. Malvika has said, there were things that we were able to learn from Virali, and likewise, we were able to learn from having these conversations. And I hope more and more people have these conversations, and that would be the beginning step in addressing the issues that we were trying to eradicate. Like being able to have open conversations would probably be the first step in trying to reach the mission. So thank you guys. DSERVE team is immensely thankful for your time. Your presence today was a great significance in our team's journey, and moving forth, as you said, we hope to stay connected, and thank you for your support. And so now to our audiences, thank you all for being present today. Your presence means a lot, and that's the first step towards our success. And all of our social media links have been shared in the chat, so please do share it, like it, comment it, tweet it, follow, but whatever it is, just keep sharing and help us keep going. In addition to this, we do have a special giveaway. So share a post of us on your social media about this event, tag us and our chief guests in order to qualify for this giveaway. I once again thank you all, and thank you all so much for being present today, and have a pleasant evening. And thank you again, once again, thank you so much, both our chief guests. Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure hosting you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And just wanted to add one closing comment. So both are giveaway goodies, and we would also like to send a small token of our love and gift to our chief guest. Wanted to mention that both of these are made by our talents, by people with disabilities. So I think you will appreciate the gifts as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you all. So please keep following us. As I mentioned, the more word we get out to more people, it would be great. So thank you. And do check the chat box for all the information, and hope you all have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
And for those who want certificates for the event, please check out the certificate link in the chat. And once you fill it, you will receive the certificates for attending the event in your email. Thank you.